Welcome classic rock fans to one of my ranking videos, worst to best so to speak. Now one of my patrons has said he wants to discuss the discography of Steely Dan, so with no further ado I'll just hand you right over.
Good day to one and all, I'm Patrick, and during this show I will rank the studio albums of one of the finest and perhaps one of the most sophisticated rock bands in rock history, and I'm talking about the one and only Steely Dan. And bottom of the pile at number 9 we have Everything Must Go from 2003, which happens to be their very last studio release. Unfortunately, it sounds lazy and tired. And to be fair, and that's being charitable, the songs do contain the sonic germs of something much greater, just trying and crying to get out and grow, but alas, they don't. Absent from this album is the catchiness and wit and complexity that was the hallmark of their previous output. But like I said, it just lacks the catchiness and wit and complexity of previous output. There's also a pattern of directionless meandering that makes the album sound like background lounge music. If you're a die-hard fan of this band or just genuinely interested, this album was actually the subject of the HBO documentary Taxi Cab Confessions, where Becker and Fagan were ferried around LA in a taxi cab, promoting this very album. Not the most interesting of documentaries, which, at the risk of sounding caustic, is actually a suitable companion piece to this album. So, Two Against Nature, number 8, is a pretty good album. Top tracks are Gaslighting Abbey, What a Shame About Me, Jenny Runaway, demonstrate that Steely Dan still sing about rather dodgy subject matters. In this case, Jenny Runaway is about a young mistress, and the singer, or the hero of the song, well, anti-hero of the song or non-hero of the song, depends on your point of view, talks about various things like retreating to sugar shacks in Pennsylvania, his mistress having friends called Melanie who, according to the lyric, is not afraid to try new things, and also references to worries about if this is a federal case. And to be honest, taking all those strands together, it makes them sound passé and a little bit inappropriate for modern ears. But the lyrics aren't that starkly audible, so I guess to the casual listener, the subject of the song is not that obvious. And this is a common pattern throughout many songs in the canon, and some of them I will talk about during this show. Okay, other good tracks are Almost Gothic, which at times sounds a bit like Joe Jackson's Steppin' Out, which isn't a bad comparison or not a bad thing at all in my book. Another good track is Cousin Dupree, which is a jaunty little bundle of fun of a track. Unfortunately, this album is beset by filler. There's lots of dull tracks, and I find myself skipping over most of the content to get to Cousin Dupree and Gaslighting Abbey. There's one or two other tracks I quite like, but overall it's okay, but nowhere near as good as their previous output. Okay, so that's Two Against Nature from 2000. So at number 7, but controversial this, Asia from 1977. In my research, many Steely Dan rankings put Asia at number 1 or number 2. And yes, it's a great album, but it's not my favourite. It's a brilliant album, but in my view, there are 6 better albums. And as much as I like it, I do play their other albums a lot more often than this. I just find Asia a very good album cover. I just find it a little too polished, a little too knowing. Some tracks, Black Cow, is as slinky as it is sophisticated, with a sweeping vocal harmony, which does veer into soul quite a bit, but it's very well done, and the band do this in a very authentic way. Deacon Blues, it's a fine track. Incidentally, for those fact fans amongst us, or those of a certain age, we remember the Scottish band from the 1980s called Deacon Blue, who obviously were named after Deacon Blues. Another good track is Peg, which is a fantastically catchy track with the unmistakable sound of Michael McDonald from the Doobie Brothers on backing vocals. And to those of us who remember the early 1990s, the main melody line was sampled very heavily by De La Soul in their hit single I Know from 1992, which really worked very well in my view. Other good tracks are Home at Last, I Got the News, and the final track is one of the best of the album, a song called Josie, which to me is a perfect fusion of conventional rock, Delta blues, and jazz with some amazing hooks. On to number 6, we have 1980s Gaucho. A very good album cover. I like the art. Very good album. Opens with the wonderful Babylon Sisters, a track that starts slowly and slinkily and then explodes into a shimmering, glittering female chorus. During the chorus, of course. Another good track is Glamour Procession. It sounds like a hybrid of 1 part Roxy Music, 2 parts Wings. And when I say 2 parts Wings, I'm referring specifically to their track Goodnight Tonight, which is a pretty kind of slinky Twilight feel to it. And of course 10 parts Steely Dan, with their trademark clever little riffs and chord changes that make for a very pleasant textured listen. The intro into the track Gaucho, the title track, is a little reminiscent of Kenny G, which is fine, but it segs nicely into another pleasant tune with an ever so slightly nursery rhyme aesthetic in the verses. The chorus for Gaucho is nerve-tinglingly sending, with again another example of a wonderful female backing chorus that lifts many a good track into the realms of sonic nirvana. Okay. Other good tracks are Time Out of Mind, which starts with a very catchy, syncopated piano passage that really does remind me and sounds a lot like Madonna's Like a Virgin. And with a smidgen of Einstein a Go-Go, which was a hit from the band called Landscape, who were a one-hit wonder. But of course, Gaucho was released quite some time before these tracks I've mentioned. Okay, so it's probably just a coincidence. It's a great track with a lazy, slinky, sunny Sunday afternoon vibe, which I really think. Another good track is My Rival, which is another very listenable tune, set to a very wry, world-weary lyric about a love rival who seems to have come off worse in some kind of fight, which is very unbecoming behaviour. Okay. And the tone changes towards the end of a track called Third World Man, which is melancholic, which is fine, but it just lacks that panache and it lacks the complexity of the rest of the album, and is probably the weakest track on the album. But the other tracks on Gaucho more than make up for it. It's a brilliant album, and the fact that I'll place this at number 7 is just testament to how good her other work is. At number 5, we have Countdown to Ecstasy from 1973. And here is the cover, or printout of the cover, I should say. The first track is a wonderful track called Bodhas Battva, which is very paying to Eastern spirituality and how Eastern spirituality was adopted by America in the early 1970s. It's a very good track, very good solid guitar sound on the song, which really reminds me of the theme tune to Top Gear, which is a British car review program. Another wonderful track is one called Razor Boy, which is a minor key affair with a poignantly sung vocal, which Fagan does from time to time when the subject matter seems rather important to him and very close to his heart. On Razor Boy, the topic is about how happiness cannot or should not be found or sought in the material, because, to paraphrase the lyric, Razor Boy might come along and key your fancy car. Okay. Another wonderful track is the Boston Rag, and at this point I will actually read or quote from a review from the Something Else Reviews website, and I quote, it's a blues-based instrumental. The intro, the blues-based instrumental break, is set apart from the main body of the song, and Benny Diaz ekes out the ominous-sounding notes, and then Skunk Baxter, drops yet another dirty, well-crafted solo on us, and brings the tune back to the chorus one last time. They go on to say that it's a solid cut that boasts a smart arrangement, hipster lyrics, and a complex song anatomy that in some aspects points the way towards the urban classic Steely Dan sound. It also has a footloose, anything goes quality, which is in keeping with the spirit of their early years. Other great tracks on Countdown to Ecstasy are Your Gold Teeth, Showbiz Kids, My Old School, and Pearl of a Quarter, which is a wonderful song. It reminds me of a country and western song that perhaps Paul McCartney never got a chance to write. A very sensitive yet very uplifting song. The final track on the album is a song called King of the World, which is the weakest song on the entire album. But for me, it's interesting to point out that there are some passages within King of the World which remind me of the Police track Spirits of the Material World. So that's Countdown to Ecstasy at number 5 on my list. At number 4, we have Can't Buy a Thrill from 1972 or 71. I can't remember. The album cover is not very good. It's very messy, but it's a very good album. It starts with the dreamy and mysterious and reflective and somewhat otherworldly Do It Again, which is one of Steely Dan's more famous and best love songs. It actually has a Wild West lyrical theme, actually, where the theme is every man for himself. It's one of my favourite. It's one of my favourite Steely Dan tracks. Dirty Work has a great Hammond organ vein that runs through it, and it does indeed have some flourishes which remind me of Procol Harum, which isn't a bad thing. Kings is a fantastic song and very unusual in its subject matter, for the lyrics actually ostensibly are about the 12th century English King John, of all people. And indeed King Richard too is name checked. During my research, I did read that Donald Fagan was studying English literature at degree level at this time, so that may have influenced his lyrical direction. Some actually said that Kings was actually an oblique reference to the Vietnam War that was raging at the time. But the band did actually deny this, for they actually said on their sleeve notes that Kings has no political significance. And who are we to argue? Another track is one of my favourite Steely Dan songs, is Only a Fool Would Say That. It's a wonderful song. Only a Fool Would Say That. It's an up-tempo, feel-good, summer evening at the barbecue kind of track, which we could all boogie to and have a beer to. You know, it's a happy song. It puts a smile on your face, and it has that Harvest for the World, happy, clappy, swinging feel to it. It's a wonderful song. A wonderful song. Reeling in the Years is from this album. It's a wonderful song as well, the classic track, and probably one of Steely Dan's best known songs. But for some reason, and I can't put my finger on it, there are some songs I never tire of hearing, but Reeling in the Years I've heard once too often, and as much as I respect this song for being absolutely wonderful in its tune and composition, it's a track I don't really need to listen to ever again. But it's a good track. Other wonderful songs are Fire in the Hole, Change of a Guard. Change of a Guard is an amazing song, and Midnight Cruiser. So Can't Buy a Thrill at number 4 on my list. Okay. On to number 3. And we have Pretzel Logic. Okay, Pretzel Logic from 1974. And those of us who like spot the difference games, we can see that the spelling of pretzel on this gentleman's billboard is actually misspelt. Okay, pretzel is spelled with an EL at the end. Here we see it's LE. Just an interesting side note. The opening track is my second favourite Steely Dan song of all time, and it is the enigmatic Ricky, Don't Lose That Number. It's enigmatic, it's melancholic, it's otherworldly, it's a beautiful song, and it has a very energetic, uplifting chorus. In my view, it sounds a strange thing to say, but there's something quite energetic about the chorus. And again, this is another example of Donald Fagan's voice reaching into an upper register of emotion, because the lyrics of this song seem to mean a lot to him. And in fact, Ricky, I have read, is actually the name of a lady he once had a crush on. So maybe those feelings came back during the writing of the lyrics and the performance of the song itself. It's the stuff that classic tracks are made of. Another wonderful song is Night by Night, which is a really fun track. And it's really fun because it sounds like two things to me in my mind. It sounds like the theme song to a 1970s cop show. It also sounds like the kind of theme music to a 1970s televised boxing event. Sonically reminiscent of the theme tune to the modern day comedy show Brooklyn Nine-O. A very good song, Night by Night, and a very good, fun, powerful, urban feel to it. Another fantastic track is Any Major Dude Will Tell You. It's a very beautiful song, very uplifting, very happy. Again, a wonderful swinging, easy kind of flow to it, which would not be out of place during our imaginary summer evening barbecue. It's very optimistic, and I'll quote, if you let me quote one of the lines, any minor world that breaks apart falls together again. Obviously, optimism is a thread running throughout this song. Pretzel Logic stands out in the entire canon of Steely Dan's output because it contains the only recorded studio album track which they did not write themselves, and I am talking about the jazz standard by Duke Ellington named East Street Louie Toodaloo. And it's a testament to the quality of this album that East Street Louie Toodaloo actually fits in quite well with the other Steely Dan tracks in the album, actually. It's a wonderful song. Parker's Band is another good track. Barrytown, with their tongue-in-cheek tongue-in-cheek wry look at the people of Barrytown. And again, I like to look at, not that I like to, but I can't help hearing similar patterns in songs which remind me of patterns in other songs. And there are some passages within Barrytown which, especially in the verses, which reminds me of the ABBA track Summer Night City. I might be the only person who sees that, but hey. Another good track is Through with the Buzz, which has a vaguely Beatle-esque feel with sweeping violins, and Fagan sounding a little bit like John Lennon in the chorus. Another fantastic song is With a Gun, which has cowboy western pretensions, and but it works all the same. Overall, Pretzel Logic is a fantastic album, a classic album, which truly exhibits Fagan and Becker's songwriting credentials and compositional dexterity and stylistic range without any loss of authenticity. So that's Pretzel Logic. At number 3. At number 2, we have A Royal Scam from 1976. Very good cover. So many good tracks in this album. It goes without saying. Where do I start? Well, let's start at track number 1, Kid Charlemagne, an uplifting song with a wonderfully catchy female backing vocal on the chorus. Very, very soulful. Fantastic call and response effects in the bridges. A wonderful, happy mixture of jazz and funk guitar rhythms. And again, this is a song whose ostensibly positive and happy tune is quite at odds with the subject matter of the lyric, because the lyric is actually about the rise and fall of a real life LSD dealer who they happen to have known in San Francisco. The Caves of Altamira, another wonderful song. The Caves of Altamira is a song which extols the virtues and wonders of the creative spirit. The Caves of Altamira is actually named after the Spanish caves of the same name, where a whole range of fascinating Neanderthal cave paintings were found. Okay, so obviously this song is about the spirit of human creativity, which spans the entire sweep of the ages of time. Pedants may point out that Neanderthals weren't human, but to me, let's bring them along to a human party. Why not? This is a Neanderthal safe space. Don't Take Me Alive is another wonderful swinging track, where the subject matter is about an on the run fugitive. It's a lovely track, very dramatic actually, but it's wonderful. Sign Stranger is another wonderful track in a lower key, bit of a slower, melancholic vibe to it. And at times in Sign Stranger, one again hears Donald Fagen singing, or his voice going into that higher emotional register. It's a poignant song, actually. It's about, I'm not sure if this is a fictional person, but it's about a person called Pepe who has a scar on his face. How the scar got there is not explained. He may be a bit of a dodgy character, but he has a very good heart, because the song is about Pepe helping immigrants get new identity cards or new identity papers, which is a very humane thing to do. And it's a wonderful song, very poignant, quite melancholic and reflective, but very, very beautiful. On the other side of the emotional coin, we have, a very kind of not flippant, but it's a very humorous, surreal song, The Fez. The Fez. The Fez put a smile on my face every time I listen to it, actually. It's got a very catchy chorus. You'll never be able to do it without your Fez on. It's a silly song, but it's wonderful and beautiful, and I like it. Other fantastic songs on this album are Green Earring, Haitian Divorce, Everything You Did. And the album closes with the title track, The Royal Scam, which is an amazing song, like the others. And it has what I would describe an indignant melody line and a very indignant sounding vocal line, but it's entirely in keeping with the subject matter. For the song is actually about the plight of Puerto Rican immigrants in New York in the 1950s, and having their dreams bashed and tarnished by the realities they find themselves within. A great album. That's The Royal Scam from 1976. So we're nearly at the end, and at the very top of my list, at number 1, is Kitty Lied. Not Kitty Did, but Kitty Lied from 1975. Every track is stunning. The opening track, Black Friday, has a rollicking good time feel which gets the blood up in a really good way. And then we move on to Bad Sneakers, which is a mellower number. One of the lines, just for example, bad sneakers and a pina colada, my friend. It's a wonderful, smooth, kind of yacht rocky feel to it. I know the term yacht rock it's usually mentioned as a pejorative, but I quite like yacht rock. Yacht rock is uplifting and happy, and it takes me to a different place, and I like it. I like yacht rock. I don't have a yacht, but yacht rock is good. Rose Darling is quite wry, tongue-in-cheek, a little bit acidic, but it's a very, very wonderful song, actually, and I really, really like it. Daddy Don't Live in New York City No More is a wonderful slab of finger-clicking jazz lounge swing with a very, very wry lyric. It's a very fun listen. Doctor Wu is a slower number. It's one of those slower, slightly melancholic, reflective songs that one should listen to when the lights are lowered. And the funny thing about Doctor Wu is that there are passages within the song that remind me of Roxanne by the Police. I hasten to add that Doctor Wu was recorded many years before Roxanne was recorded. Um, a line from the chorus is, "Are you with me, Doctor Wu, or are you just a shadow of the man I once knew?" I get the impression Doctor Wu is not a real doctor, if you catch my drift. Everyone's Gone to the Movies is a fantastic song, actually. It's really up tempo, a tuneful summer vibe of a song. If you don't listen too closely to the lyrics, it sounds like a love song about being alone at last with one's special friend or lover at the movies. But I have given a clue there. I do advise, on a more serious point, I do advise listeners to listen or do some research into the lyrics of Everyone's Gone to the Movies, because to the casual listener, it sounds like it described about two lovers expressing, "At last we're alone together at the movies." It's actually quite darker than that, actually. It's actually alludes to an older man taking a person who's underage to the cinema for rather dark purposes. I was quite shocked, actually. I actually only found this out recently. I've known this song for a long time. I never paid particular attention to the lyrics. I genuinely thought it was about two lovers expressing delight at being together alone while watching a movie. But during my research, I actually found out what this song was actually about, and it hasn't tarnished my enjoyment of the song. Well, I think it actually has, to be frank. Musically it's a great song, but when you actually find out what the song is really about, it can make you go, But it's a good song in its own terms. The next track, Your Gold Teeth, is a piano-led affair with a delectable sound of drum brushes, wonderful jazzy late-night feel to it. Chain Lightning is another jaunty and enjoyable number with a breathy, finger-clicking, bright and breezy melodic vocal. The next track is actually my all-time favourite Steely Dan track, and it's the song entitled Any World That I'm Welcome To. Any World That I'm Welcome To. It's a beautiful, stunning song, soaking in pathos, sadness, yet there's a thread of happiness and optimism that runs through it. It's one of those I'll be there kind of songs with a very heartfelt chorus. But again, we hear Fagan's voice in the chorus reaching into that higher emotional register. And I quote the lyric from the chorus: "Any world that I'm welcome to is better than the one I came from." It's a song about belonging, and you can tell it's both written and sung from the heart. A gorgeous song, a reflective song, and it's my favourite Steely Dan song of all time. And during the preparation for this video, it was very, very difficult to decide between The Royal Scam and Kitty Light. And at the end of the day, in the photo finish, it was Any World That I'm Welcome To actually pushed Kitty Lied across the line to win gold, to win the top spot of my list. And that did. That completes my ranking the albums exercise for Steely Dan, with Kitty Lied at number 1. And thank you for watching and sharing this time with me, and I hope you enjoyed it. The ranking is only my personal opinion. You may have a different opinion and a different ranking, and as ever, let's see tell us what your ranking is in the comments below, and tell us why you disagree. It's good to hear different opinions and different views about albums and ranking like this. And if you aren't familiar with Steely Dan, if you're watching this video and you aren't familiar with their work, you're in for a real treat. I really do urge you to explore their work. They are truly one of the finest bands of all time. And with that, I say thank you. And wherever you are, I wish you good night, or good day, or good afternoon, or good morning. And yeah,